Okay, so I'm going to do this really quickly because it's for sake of time and because I am recording a video instead of being live on this video. I don't know what's going on. I know we're having some construction work. I know my Wi-Fi has been screwy all day today, but I am going to talk about mixing the dough really quickly, and I'm going to get it mixed so I can get this video uploaded. If the video is too long, Facebook won't let me upload it, so I apologize about not going into extreme detail, but I will try to go into more detail during other lives, and I'll probably even do another mixing live in the next week or so before this month's up, just for y'all, okay? But I want to get this out there for you. So sorry we're having so much trouble with this. This is crazy. But what I'm talking about is ingredients. So in our ingredients, we are going to have 3 sticks of butter, 2 cups of sugar. We're going to have 2 teaspoons of almond extract, 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste, which is my personal favorite. Let me show you what that looks like wherever I have it. So this is vanilla bean paste. This is my personal favorite. And you use it just like you use vanilla extract, but on your extracts, make sure you use extract and not flavoring, okay? Because extracts is what you want. Flavoring does not give you the flavor that you need in order to have that bold, nice round flavor of vanilla and almond, okay? So make sure you use extracts, but my personal favorite is the vanilla bean paste when it comes to vanilla, okay? And I get this off of Amazon. Now when you start out, we're also gonna have 3 sticks of butter. I use, and I was trying to say this in my live, but in my recipe, I started out trying to buy the most expensive ingredients that I could find, like Land O'Lakes butter versus Great Value brand stick butter. I have come to find out that it doesn't matter how name brand the products that I use are. I get just as great a flavor of a cookie using the Great Value brand stick butter as well as I do using Land O'Lakes. And it's about $1 or so cheaper to get the Great Value. So when you set out your butter, you want to make sure you set your butter and your eggs out prior to or while I gather my ingredients up. I let it soften up some. You want your butter to be to where you can press into it, but that it's not super duper soft, okay? Too much softness and it will spread. Not soft enough and you'll get clumps of butter throughout your cookie because where it didn't mix well, okay? Which I love the taste of butter, so I wouldn't mind that, but your customers may not, okay? So your eggs and your butter have to warm up a little bit before you actually start mixing. So 3 sticks of butter to continue with our ingredients. And then our eggs, I have 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. So you want to separate 2 of the eggs, so you only have the egg yolk in your mixture, okay? Now the egg whites that you have in the egg yolk, that you're using the egg yolk with, you can put that into the side, put it in the refrigerator, use it for other cakes or whatever that you want to use it for, meringue, things like that, okay? And then we have 4 cups of flour sifted, and I use just a plain sifter. And we also have 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt that I put in my sifter as I am sifting my flour. Then I take a whisk and I whisk all of that dry ingredients together so it can all be throughout the baking soda and the baking powder and the salt throughout my flour mixture. I use a small little cup, and you're going to see this in just a minute as I'm adding the flour into my mixture. Now, let's get started with I think that's all the ingredients. 2 cups of sugar as well, and I always put 3 sticks of butter and 2 cups of sugar in to start out with in my bowl. And what I use, because you can use a butter knife if you want to chop up your butter, things like that, but I found that using a dough cutter to kind of chop up my butter and get it mixed in with my sugar first helps me whenever I'm mixing everything with my mixer. And it's not as hard on my mixer if I do this first, because these things break. I don't know if you know that or not. Matter of fact, I was just looking on KitchenAid earlier about ordering me another one because I have mixed so many cookies with this one, and I don't need a big week of cookies to come up and then my thing break. So, and then trying to go and find one. So I always cut up my butter and I cut it into my sugar using a dough cutter. I like to keep every little piece that I possibly can. That way. So you see how it cuts it up? This is what you want to look for, okay? This helps on your mixer so that it's not extremely tough to get that butter cut into your sugar, okay? And I may have to upload this video on YouTube first and post the link if it turns out to be too long. So you just want to make sure you scrape down the sides. Now it looks like in the camera you can see well. I may move this a little closer. Now on dough, you want to make sure that you start out with your dough on low speed. You lock it in. Now I do use my stand mixer. You can use a hand mixer if you want to, but if you're doing a lot of cookies, that's going to get extremely tiring for you, and this is a great investment, okay? And KitchenAid's not paying me to say that. I'm just telling you, this is the best tool I've ever invested in starting this business, okay? So now I'm going to just always mix your dough on low because you don't want to over mix your dough, because you can over mix your dough and it will cause spreading. It will cause the cookie to butter bleed, things like that. So you don't want to over mix your dough. So I'm just letting it kind of gather in and mix up on that bottom really well, because I have already started the mixing process when I use the dough cutter to cut the butter into the sugar. The next thing that I add is and I do it while it's on low, I add in the almond and vanilla bean paste, the almond extract and vanilla bean paste, right into it. And then the next ingredients I add, because I'm putting my wet ingredients in here, is 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. And you're going to see that it's going to start kind of getting, it's wetter, it's more wetter. Just want to make sure that mixes in well. Okay, and then so now it's pulling away from the sides a little, so I'm going to go ahead and a little bit at a time. This is why I think this is like my 1/4 cup, and I'm just going to start adding flour into my mixer. This is the last ingredient. This is our flour, our baking powder, and our salt. And I add it in a little at a time. I try to do it as clean as I possibly can, but y'all know flour flies. A lot of people will put towels around their bowl, but I can't do that while I'm doing videos because then you can't see. But it will start flying out of the mixer and get your counter dirty. And KitchenAid does have like a bracket that sits on top to help with that not happening. I just haven't invested in one yet. And you're gonna notice, if you can see in the video, that right now it's all kind of sticking to the sides and it looks kind of mushy. Your dough is gonna get to, I would call it more of like a peanut butter consistency a little bit. But 4 cups of flour sifted is what I'm adding to the mixture right now. You just do it a little at a time. Adding too much flour at once and you're going to get this cloud of smoke flour, and most of your ingredients are going to be flying all over the place. You can kind of hear the mixer bogging down just a little bit. That's normal because it's getting thicker and it's starting to kind of pull away from the sides of the mixer. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this added in. Let me speed it up just a little bit and knock some of that off. If you'll speed it up and lift the head of your mixer up some, it's going to catch the sides and get some of that weight off of your paddle. I have just a little bit more that I'm going to add in. The rest of it. You can even, when you have it stopped, because sometimes you just have to scrape the sides down too, because you want to make sure it does get mixed well, but you do want to be careful not to over mix your batter, your dough. But yeah, it's pulling away from the sides nicely, which is what you want. So I'm going to put the paddle back in so it can mix up that last bit of powder, that last bit of flour. And you always mix on low. Every now and then I'll give it a burst of energy. This is what I like to call it, a little burst of energy. Just so it kind of knocks some of it off of the paddle a little bit, because that's what ends up breaking your paddle, is all that weight of the dough. And you want to make sure the bottom of your bowl is getting mixed in well, because if not, you're going to have some dry bits at the bottom that's got flour added to it. It's parts of butter and sugar, and it's got the flour has coated it, and if you're not making sure that that bottom is getting mixed in well, then you're going to have those chunks in your batter whenever you're rolling your dough out, and it just causes some dry spots in your cookie. You don't want that. So I'm going to kind of unlock this and kind of like speed it up just a little bit just to knock it off the paddle. Okay, so it has like a peanut butter consistency to it, is what I like to call it. And yes, you can, well, I say this, I probably shouldn't say this, but I do, from myself, I do like to taste my cookie dough just to make sure that all the flavor is there. It's really good. So that is how I mix my dough. Now it's ready for the next step. and what I do with it from here. So what I'm going to do is stop this video, and I'm going to move us over and show you what I do with the dough before I prepare it to cut. Okay? So I'll see you soon.